so that our trade deficit can be reduced, if not overcome. Anyway, we have another call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Good morning, Senator Morgan. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, sir.
I heard the 21 corrupted PMP KSAC yesterday evening was trying to tarnish JLP Williams. I don't know if you picked it up yesterday evening.
No, I was busy focusing on the budget debate.
Right, but JLP Williams was out of the block quickly on him and remind him that it was Angela Burke organized those type of things. And from morning we doesn't hear nothing back from the chairman of the KSAC. Because JLP Williams remind him that he is trying to use that now to hide what is happening at KSAC. And he must come out straight.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, you believe in speaking the truth, Mr. Morgan?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Speak it ever, cost it what it will.
Cost it what it is. I want to put something to you and ask you a question. You believe that Colonel Charles and his sister, Matthew Samuda, and the others them who did have a British citizenship should take those documents to the Parliament next week Tuesday and hold it up when holding a speak next week Tuesday?
I don't necessarily have any view one way or another on that matter. For example, on whether they should come to the Parliament and hold up any document, for example, their birth certificate or whatever.
Not the birth certificate. Them left in England as a citizen of England.
In the case of Colonel Charles, in case of the Charleses, theirs doesn't have anything to do with the UK. I think theirs may have in the US.
Again. Right. But at the moment, when time Mrs. Charles from St. Thomas did say, him denounce for him, if nobody inside the PMP did believe him was asking for her to prove it. And it is surface back around now that Mr. Golding did not do nothing concerning leffing his own yard in England. And me have a problem with it. I would like to see Mr. with that stamp of that day and show me say in a Parliament committee.
Renounce.
Renounce his citizenship from England.
All right. I think that would be, an appropriate thing for him to do, to lay or to set at ease and to put at rest any...
At rest now.
That's right, to put at rest any concern or misgivings people may have regarding his sincerity and the degree to which he actually followed through on what he signaled that he would have done, which is to renounce his British citizenship. Because the truth is, we know it is something that he agonized over, and if he were to have done it, he would have done it with a heavy heart, as it were, because he really and truly didn't want to do that.
So you don't have a problem with me asking for him to show it now then?
Not at all, sir. You are free to make a call that will satisfy a concern that you have.
Soon come up for you, Just want to ask you two more questions and I run.
Sure.
Long. I saw a 89-year-old senior citizen come out back out of house with a lot of disaster. And I like how social media dealt with him. I am one of the persons who feel it on a PJ Patterson and Omar Davis fan.
Did you hear caller George Davis elsewhere in Radio Land?
Yes, I know. George Davis woke him Monday morning. They put on in pyjama and go back in our bedroom.
What are your views, listener, on what George Davis said in relation to Patterson and his attempt to quote-unquote set the record straight?
Excellent, George Davis did.
I see.
Excellent. Nothing was wrong. I come in George the very morning. I called him.
Because you know what I think, Carla? Patterson has failed to realize that the Jamaica that he left when he was Prime Minister, the Jamaica that he presided over when he ruled the roost, is a different Jamaica now. People are no holds barred. And people are going to be using the platforms to rip into him and his destructive legacy, as they should. So the kid gloves and the deference that people used to exhibit, when people look at the Jamaica that we have now, and the fact that what we have now is considerably greater improved than what Patterson presided over, it gives people a sense as to how wretched they were. You saw a budget yesterday, 9 consecutive years with no new taxes.
I stop from work just to make certain that a word doesn't miss me.
Yeah.
And the last thing now, before
make it 30 seconds, because we have to run to the 11 o'clock. Yeah, go ahead.
I think PJ Patterson is having a problem with Andrew Holness because Andrew didn't take the increase. And once Andrew didn't take the increase, PJ Patterson cannot get the increase, and that is PJ Patterson's biggest problem. Have a nice day.
All right, Carla. Thanks for your intervention this morning. We are up on the NPR News at 11 o'clock, so we're going to run to that and come back with you at round about 10 minutes. And it is the program Straight Up. I am Marlon Morgan. We are coming to a discussion in this segment with Dr. Camilo Trench, a marine biologist. Dr. Trench is the holder of a PhD, lecturer, and a CCA coordinator at the University of the West Indies' Discovery Bay Marine Laboratory. Good morning, Dr. Trench.
Morning, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, and how are you and the team down there in Discovery Bay?
I think myself and the team are quite good in the beat as usual, you know?
Indeed. All right, there's an issue that has been one of the subjects of public attention and discussion in recent times, the issue out at Fort Rocky. Dr. Trench, you want to the extent that you are apprised of, what is happening there, give us a sense as to what the crux of the matter is where Fort Rocky is concerned.
Okay. Well, I had spoken about it on another program, and I have seen the media reports, I've seen press releases, etc. I haven't seen it myself.
You want to project some more? You sound a bit. You want to speak up a bit more so we can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Is that a little better?
Slightly better, but go ahead, press on.
Right, so I have seen the press releases about it, and I have seen it personally. But I'm quite familiar with the ecology of the area. And what has happened is that the issue is that there has been no development. Well, we have to do development, but we have to do it to the right way, or we should do it to the right way. So this site is basically, the target of, we are planning to do an entertainment zone, which I would have to say it's not a bad idea because it's a place where you can make noise without bothering persons too close by.
In terms of night noise, yeah.
A couple kilometers away. So, in principle, it's not a bad idea, but we just want to execute it. So, the truth of the matter right now is that the developers have a rush to remove some vegetation. There is an environmental report. I haven't seen it personally, but I've seen excerpts from it. And some of it from colleagues. And it seems as if the report has focused on it has focused a lot on the noise and light impact, but it hasn't focused much on the ecological impact. Now, let me give you something that's comparable to the area. The policy was, which had to be raised a couple years ago, several meters high.
With some retaining boulders and so on.
When a storm event comes in, it was eroded and it was flooded. The airport was impassable, Portugal community persons couldn't get there.
Yeah.
The way it has been done out there at Fort Rocky, we're setting up ourselves for a similar situation. Now, even though I suspect there were no mangroves there, as far as I know the report, doesn't say mangroves, but mangroves, you know, that's something I specially study. I'm not biased. Mangroves are not the only important coastal vegetation. So the coastal forest out there, the beach scrub, whatever you want to call it, it is mostly cacti, some runners, very thorny bushes, etc. But they play a very important role. And I don't see where the report highlighted ecological role as the vegetation.
And that role is?
And the noise and the light and so on.
Yeah.
But it didn't highlight the vegetation. It's almost like it's saying the vegetation isn't
all right. So those bits of vegetation, the cacti and the runners, and other thorny vegetation, what ecological and ecosystem role essentially do those play?
Well, the largest role they play is definitely the erosion protection and keeping the soil together there.
Yeah.
So basically, I don't even know the history of the formation of the Palisades. It's basically a sandy spit. It's not very solid in terms of the structure like limestone and so on. So it was formed basically by an aggregation of sand. But these plants keep the sand together. So unless these plants are there, similar to how if you pass the sand dune, which is across from the Caribbean Maritime Institute, it's a lot higher, it's a lot denser out there. And you realize that section of the road never ever gets eroded or flooded. That is what you want your sand dune to look like. The sand dune along the Palisades was not like that because it's younger. And the sand dune in some parts of Port Royal, like right there next to Fort Rocky, is not as high as Village either. It's usually a couple meters above sea level. And I was surprised that seemingly in the ecological report, it doesn't even have a topographic survey, which I use a lot in my mangrove restoration work. And we should use it as a tool to help to plan what the structure should be. So the report seems, and the proposal seems to have a parking lot. But a parking lot alone out there is not appropriate, it's not suitable, because if you're doing a parking lot, fine. But you should also have some kind of buffer mechanism between this parking lot and the sea, because the sea level doesn't stay in the 18 centimeter structure of the day. It can rise a couple meters above in the times of high tide.
Based on ocean movements.
5 to 10 meters high. So it's not planned properly, and it seemed as if it was rushed to facilitate some sort of entertainment event. Which again, not in entertainment, not in development, but it should be done properly. Especially, I didn't even mention that I'm sure you know that the Palisades and Port Royal is a protected area. So downplaying the ecological value is very contrary to why the area is a protected area. It's a protected
share with the listeners.
Marine area.
Share with the listeners why the entire Palisades stretch and strip, as it were, has been designated a protected area.
Several reasons why the Palisades and Port Royal was declared as a protected area. One is the mangroves, two is definitely the sand dune community. So between the mangroves and the sand dune, let's put it back down to dollars and cents. Between the mangroves and the sand dune and the sand there, which I said is very low, that is hard rock, parent rock or anything like that, not a lot of it. These two ecosystems help to keep the Kingston Harbour calm. And by keeping the Kingston Harbour calm, what do we have in the Kingston Harbour? We have billions of dollars worth of transshipment. So that's seven largest natural harbour in the world, which makes billions of dollars for us. It is the same maca bush, as we call them, or maca, that helps to make that happen. So taking out one piece of that is bad. I don't know if the Port Royal has a lot of archaeological value. Here the Port Royal is an archaeological site, but Jamaica Heritage Trust must have done their surveys. I don't think that the issue there is excavating in the footprint of the heritage site. I think the issue is the sand dune aspects, where they downplay it on this protected area. We should not develop them there at all. That's what the different guidelines and paperwork says. But if you're having developments, yes, there are exceptions to the rule. It has to be properly planned, and it shouldn't have been rushed
Yeah.
as it seemingly has been.
All right. So what would you
And
recommend?
I'll also add, based on what the excerpt I'm seeing of the report that was done, not easy references I am seeing were in it. And it should have reference and looked at whoever the researcher was, should have looked at some of the key historical research here, like with a paper by Thompson and Weber, which I don't think they refer to that at all, which details some of the species out there, how many different species and all of that. I think the ecological part only focus on a couple species, which is so, which is a misrepresentation of the area, really.
Yeah. All right. Well, note your perspectives, Dr. Trench. I trust that appropriate channels will be used to impress upon the persons who undertook this body of work to revisit and essentially ensure that there's no compromise to the very strategic ecological and geophysical features that are out there at Fort Rock in particular.
Absolutely.
All right. Keep up the good work there at the UA Discovery Bay Marine Laboratory. Dr. Camilla Trench, lecturer, of course, and ACCA coordinator.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, let me wish you and the team all the best.
All right, thanks. Bye.
All right, callers, we're going to be going back to our phone lines. Remember the numbers to call, 876-212-9824. And there's also 876-462-0919. Elsewhere in Radioland this morning, listeners, the commentators and the commentary have been coming in. So there is a particular bit of commentary from one of our brothers in Radioland, George Davis of Nationwide, who opined on the finance minister's budget presentation this morning. Many persons, I gather, would have tuned in, and I have detected, listeners, that the overwhelming sentiment from the finance minister's presentation is that she acquitted herself well, she performed creditably, particularly as a person who was doing this for the first time, in terms of this having been, or that having been rather, her maiden contribution to the budget debate. Can we just go to that bit of audio, and just to indicate that this is a bit of audio from Nationwide News Network. Just to come back to one of the points we were mentioning in the conversation with Al earlier. Again, we're mindful of the competitive nature of the politics. Yeah? But to my mind, Jamaica's well-being, Jamaica's advancement, have to be uppermost in our minds, such that even if good things that are happening in the country may not be considered as being advantageous because of our political preference, it shouldn't be that those things are somehow relegated, diminished, or spoken ill of. One of the takeaways for me from last afternoon's budget debate is that a number of critical gaps, or let me not even describe them as gaps, but areas in relation to which we needed to have improved, the ways in which we need to strategically use fiscal policy to secure desired outcomes. I got the clear sense yesterday that there was focused thought and focused attention on that. One of the biggest constraints on businesses in this country, for example, is access to capital. To run a business, to set up a business, to attend to all the attendant costs, pay workers, pay utilities, pay rent, you name it. Yes? It requires money. You may have the most fantastic and fantabulous business idea in the world. If you are not able to mobilize the resources, whether it's your own resources, money out of your pocket, a loan from a bank, or patient capital, what we describe as more patient capital, which is equity financing, where you don't have a monthly loan repayment, but you have a person who is essentially investing in your business. Yes? What we want is for more patient capital, and I got the clear sense, considering the budget debate yesterday, that there is an attempt to secure more patient capital. I gather the bit of audio may be able to be played now. Let's try again and see.
To watch Fiverr Williams and her. All right. So yesterday we all tuned in. Well, not all, but a lot of us tuned in to watch Fiverr Williams and her maiden presentation as finance minister in the budget debate. The anticipation was high on the PBCJ platform, which you did have a few hundred people. There were over 2,000 yesterday waiting for the feed to get plugged in. And people were listening on radios, and everybody was keen to see if Fiverr would hold up. First of all, Fiverr Williams not only held up, she excelled over the course of the presentation, and every speech of a certain length, every speech over 40 minutes, I would say, every speech over 40 minutes, especially one that runs for well over 2 hours, has natural flat spots. Her flat spots, and she did have a few, they weren't deep, because that's when you're in trouble, you know. When you hit a flat spot and it starts sink, she never sunk. And the energy from the laborites on the government side kept her up, and overall she passed the eye test with flying colors. It was a Fiverr Williams like I've never seen before. It was a Fiverr Williams I was crossing my fingers would appear and stay, and it's a Fiverr Williams we got. So